Welcome to another Women and the Series, which is the Tobo Sigwe, Esi Kolomo. Today I want to discuss a very important topic, the gods of Africa. The gods of Africa. In one of my recent teachings, I said that whoever introduced the concept of one God should be considered as the greatest salesman ever. History has it, don't take my word for it, after this video, make your own research. History has it that the first person that toyed with the concept of one God was an Egyptian king. I don't know, I think Iktanon. I think that's the name, Iktanon. I don't know if I'm correct, but he was an Egyptian king. Unfortunately, he couldn't succeed with instituting the practice within his kingdom as of then. Know that the present day Egypt is not how the olden days Egypt. The olden days Egypt was believed to be a black empire. Later, the Roman king Constantine tried it. It worked. And other kings that came after him, other Roman kings that came after him, ensured that they entrenched this concept of one God in their empire. Some of you can read up about the Nicea Council, Nicea. I think this happened around 225 AD. Now, you observe that the first king that tried this concept was an Egyptian king, a black king, and Egypt is in Africa. The king failed woefully with his plan of one God. The second king that tried it was an European king. He succeeded. Based on this, I can say that the European gods are okay with the concept of one God, but African gods has never and shall never be okay with it. They rejected it in the past and they are still rejecting it today. We have Muslims in Africa, we have Christians in Africa, and we still have those who are worshipping their African traditional religion in great numbers in Africa. So you see that when it comes to the worship of God, there is duplicity of gods. So there are several gods in Africa, and it's important that we Africans accept that Africa is a polytheistic territory. Today, Europe and their Anglophonic extensions are still monotheistic. Like I said, it's obvious that European gods are okay with the concept of one God. That's why the whole of Europe, we can say that they are Christians. They worship one God. It's their cultural, it's part of their culture. It's part of their cultural history. And they are okay with it. They are comfortable with it. They don't have any problem with it. And that's why I say that European gods are okay with the concept of what one God, monotheism. Why Africa is very polytheistic. We are not okay, and we have never been okay, and we can never be okay with the concept of one God. Africa is a polytheistic territory. We are not rejecting other people's God, but what we reject is the concept of one God. We strongly believe that there are different paths to every river. So the gods of Africa are open to new gods, but they are not open to the concept of one God. Having this in mind, it is wrong for Europe to teach Africa the concept of one God, when we, the Africans, we are actually the people that toyed with that idea first and discarded it because it didn't succeed in Africa, because African territory, African gods will not accept the concept of what? One God. So any true Africa that is deluded or deceived with the concept of one God is not a true African. In Africa, our gods are many. Any true African should always bear this in mind. Our gods are many. European gods are one. In Africa, our gods are many. This African uniqueness should always be spelled out. I think that we should always learn it in our school. It's dangerous that in our schools, they are teaching our children, in African schools, they are teaching our children the concept of one God. Even in European schools, they should also teach Europeans that Africans are polytheistic, just like Asia. If you talk about the Hindus, they believe in polytheism. So we Africans are polytheistic. It has been like that from the very beginning, from ages past. So our gods in Africa are many, and these gods perform different functions among different territories of Africa. For example, the Igbo gods are different from the Yoruba gods. The Yoruba gods are different from the Zulu and Bantu gods. The Zulu gods are different from gods found in sub-Saharan Africa. Our uniqueness and cultural differences in Africa are as a result of our different gods. Once we acknowledge this cultural and territorial gods, then our uniqueness will remain intact, especially once we respect and value each other. Five features of African gods, so that we'll see that our gods are very different. One, they are not jealous gods. African gods are not what? Jealous gods. This makes them open to the worship of as many gods as what possible. It's difficult to turn our own brand of polytheism into organized religion. You cannot. You cannot unify African traditional worship. You can just be seeing the similarities, or what I call features. The first one remarkable feature of African gods is that what they are not jealous gods. An African god is open to you that is worshiping it. To worship the Christian God, worship the Muslim God, worship as many African gods. If you can worship 10 or 15, there is no problem. The one is that the contract they have with you, just keep it. Keep the one they have with you. You don't have any problem. They are not jealous. African gods are not like the European gods that say that I'm a jealous God. No, African gods are not jealous. That's why they are open to you worshiping as many gods as what possible. Number two, they do not encourage domination or exploitation of others. African gods are not warlike. They do not encourage domination. Now, let me show you something. This is the European Bible. The European Bible. I'm going to read Genesis. Genesis 28. And then what the one saying, this is what is written in Genesis 28. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it. So when you see Europeans subduing the world, they are trying to follow the instruction of their God. When you see them exploiting other people, they are trying to follow the instruction of their God. Is what their God instructed them to do. He told them to do what? Subdue this earth and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over every living thing that moving upon the earth, over every living thing. So when you understand that these people are the cause of slavery, the cause of war, the cause of a lot of things that have gone wrong, they are the ones that have colonized, despite they learned a lot of things from Africa, but they refuse to learn polytheism from us. They follow the instruction of their God, which asks them to do what? Exploit and dominate this earth over everything. So I'm saying that African gods did not don't have this kind of command. African gods are not warlike. This is why there is little history of wars, territorial expansion in the scale of Europe in Africa. There is no territorial expansion. Our ancestors, we the Igbos, our ancestors have lived here for ages. They didn't try to expand. They didn't try to dominate anybody. If you're not okay, you can migrate as a person and start your own colony elsewhere. But dominating others, just like what they are doing to African continent up to today, exploiting our natural resources by every means necessary. So I'm saying that African gods are not exploitative. So most times when people think about why is Africa not, their gods they are worshiping are not what? Exploitative. The gods that own Africa are not exploitative. They are not warlike. They are not into territorial expansion. And you cannot move faster than your own gods. Number three, African gods understand the needs and problem of Africa more than any foreign god. They know how to instill fear or command obedience from Africans in a way that a typical African will understand. Get a typical African, give a typical African or Igbo person Bible to swear. They will swear with it and say they didn't do one particular, but they did that thing. They are not afraid. They get offer, get the person to swear with an offer. You will see the person to become very, very careful. The person becomes very careful. No typical African person will agree to swear with an African god's paraphernalia of an African godhead. They will not agree to swear with it because they know that the African god will deal with that person. If you are telling a lie, I'm not the first person that have said it. Ojuku said it in his book because I was involved. That if we want to get it right, get our leaders to swear with offer. Get African leaders to swear with the scepter from the temple of their gods. because the African gods know how to handle their own. Since I was born, I have not seen any Christian that have said that a Christian God killed someone or dealt with someone or addressed any situation. Since I've been born, I know that every Christian is afraid of being taken to any temple, any African God's temple. The person will run away. If the person did bad and you report the person there, the person will want to settle that thing. None of them, no matter anything they claim how powerful their God is, when it comes to African gods, if you bring in African gods, all of them become jittery. African gods know how to handle their own people. Number four, African gods encourages and enjoy animal sacrifice. You can't take away animal sacrifice from African gods. It's part and parcel of the worship of African gods. We are still into animal sacrifice here in Africa because it's part and parcel of the future of African gods. They encourage it, and there is a reason. Number five, African gods will bring you closer to nature rather than take you away from it, all in the name of civilization. No matter your level of civilization, African gods will bring you closer to nature. It doesn't take you away from nature. African gods are not interested in destroying the ecosystem in the name of civilization. These are the five features of African gods. Now, I want to go into a very deep question that some people always say. Has African gods failed Africa? Has African gods failed Africa? Many Africans tend to believe that with the level of technological advancement in Europe, Asia, and the rest of the world, that the gods of Africa are backward, retrogressive, and dead. But these people fail to realize three things. One, that nations rise and fall. Nations rise and fall. This is a world program. There is no nation that will remain on top. In our very before, we have seen the fall of Great Britain after dominating the world for more than 300 to 400 years. We saw it diminish after the Second World War, and we saw the rise of America, which is also an extension of Great Britain. But today we are also seeing its decline. We are witnessing its decline. We are seeing other nations like India, China coming to the fore. Tomorrow it will be Africa. Africa once dominated the world. Those who are not good students of history think that African gods failed. No, it's rise and fall of nation. There is no family that becomes good in a particular thing from eternity to eternity. No. Owanementally, that's how the world works. There is a shift. I can even predict that one day there is the possibility that there will be snow in Africa or in the part of Africa that have not witnessed snow. That it might happen. And the side that have been witnessing it will start witnessing the kind of atmospheric weather condition we are witnessing today. The world is always changing. Environmentally, it's not static. We are not in a static world. So do you think that political power, military power, a kind of success will remain in a place permanently? No, it doesn't work like that. So when it's working, you give all the credit to your God, to your own people, but it's you people's turn. So don't blame African gods. It's not the turn of Africa. It will still get to our turn. And all the things that you call civilization today, you witness them in Africa. And all the things you ascribe to Africa, all the retrogression you have ascribed to Africa, you see it in those people that you see as civilized today. All those things that they see as barbaric, those people that you refer to as third world, all those indices that made them say that Africa is a third world country. You see all those indices start appearing in all those countries that you see as first world country today. That's what they call rising and falling of nations. After all, Egypt was once the height, the pinnacle of world civilization. And Egypt of that time, I keep saying it, was black civilization. It was a black civilization. From there, we moved to the Mesopotamia, that's the Greek. From there, we moved to the Roman civilization. We had the Renaissance period, the Dark Ages, and the birth of churches and Reformation. And we come to what we call the English Anglophonic civilization or European civilization as you may know it today. Today, we are seeing the Oriental civilization. China is coming up strongly, taking over. Whatever thing that America thinks that they have, that they are the best at, China has done it. India is coming up strongly. The Orientals are coming up strongly. So it's rising and falling of nation. These things are inevitable. Number two, you must know that in life, once you are up, the next thing for you is down. And once you are down, the next thing for you is up. That's how life is. Once you are up, the next thing for you is down. And once you are down. So when you go up, don't glorify and start thinking that no, it's not permanent. Then number two, has African God failed Africa? We must bear this in mind. Technological advancement at times goes hand in hand with capitalistic operation. Remember, it's written, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. So most times what we refer as technological advancement, what we refer as development, at what cost did it come? Some people are not willing to pay that cost. Stealing from others, oppressing others. Some of the things we refer to as civilization came at what cost? Some came at a heavy cost of slavery. Some came at a heavy cost of war. Some came at a heavy cost of selling the natural resources of others. So most times, what we call technological advancement goes hand in hand with what? Oppression. So most times, look at the other side of the mask. Then, has African gods failed Africa? Number three, one of the true jobs of Africa is to help us maintain our uniqueness and differences and not to make us unrecognizable. And we have still maintained our uniqueness as Africans, as the blacks. Our system of worship, no matter the heavy assault, has not been eroded. Our unique ways, our system is still there. Our gods have helped us to preserve it. So they have done one of their major functions, which is what? To help us preserve our uniqueness, what makes us what? Different from the rest. So I'm telling you with all sense of authority, African gods have not failed Africa. They didn't fail them yesterday, they will not fail them today, and they will not fail them tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, and share. I would like to hear from some of you. If you have any question, please, you can reach me through the number on the screen or my email address or my other social media handles. Thank you. Thank you.